Now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again for the Pick and Go podcast. Another big week of footy to get stuck into. So very pleased to be joined once again by the dynamic duo of the Pick and Go podcast, Richard Laddie and Paul Marty. Thanks for joining us, fellas.
Howdy, Patrick. Good to be here.
I can see you share that sentiment, Paul. Thank you for making yourself available.
Yeah, no worries.
And big news on the podcast. Joining us from across the Tasman, the Wallabies finally got a win, so he's agreed to join us to break it down. Matthew Fisk, how are you, mate?
Oh, thank you, Paddy. Nah, give me a break. The Wallabies. I'm back because the NPC's back. It's built into my contract. If there's no Bunnings NPC, there's no Fisky, but it's back this week, and so am I.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting times. We'll get onto it shortly, but the schedule makers have certainly done us a favour with the NPC as well. 3 great games and Tasman versus Northland, but yeah, there'll be at least one pretty competitive game every day by the looks of things. So very much looking forward to that. Kicking off tomorrow night up in the Tron, where Waikato take on Canterbury. But I think first we should probably touch on the action from the Goldie on Sunday evening. Fairly eventful night of footy. It was a nice bit of Sunday Arbor footy roll into the week. I thoroughly enjoyed that. The All Blacks obviously dominant, it would be fair to say, against Argentina. Barely gave them a look in as they ran out winners to 0. I don't have the exact score up here on the podcast because I've already gone off track about 3 minutes in. But while I pull it up, 39-0, of course. Yep, that was the one. Yeah, but and Argentina were lucky to get 0. I'd say the based on how they went. Paul, who stood out to you in the black jersey on Sunday?
Well, I think right from the kickoff, where was it Nepo Lolala who put that absolute pearler of a hit on the Argentinian lock?
Matera, I think. Yeah,
he did not miss, and it continued on from there. I really enjoyed the play of the Type 5. I thought they absolutely dominated their opposites and allowed the rest of the All Black team to sort of, I guess, show a wee bit of flair and a few more skills. It was a great game to watch. It was if you're an All Black supporter, it was a very, very complete sort of performance. I thought, and I thought it was another step up from the performance they put on against the Australians just a week before. So, yeah, A+ for the All Blacks.
Yeah, no, it was certainly. Were you also handing an A+ mark for that performance, Richard?
Yeah, had to disagree with that. I, on the podcast last week, had the Argentina with the plus, and as soon as Lolala put that head on, I was just like, oh no, what have I done? And it was quite clear, like they were all over them. I was sort of looking through the team and just thinking of, who stood out, but you could make a case for, probably 2/3 of the team. I thought the Barretts were all sensational. It's probably one of the better games that Geordie's played, and I think Scott's seems to have sort of probably just got over some of his. I don't know. He's still got a bit of niggle there, but he just finds the right place to put it. And his
you say that like it's a bad thing.
Oh, not at all. Love it as a former second rower myself, but yeah, that sort of partnership he's got with Richard there. It's good for the rest of the with the news that Whitelock won't be playing the rest of the series. He's probably really got a good hand on that. I thought Jacobson was great as well. He's always been I've always had a soft spot for him, and it was good to see him sort of put on performance like that in the black jersey, get a couple of 5-pointers as well. But yeah, I mean, hard to disagree. All Blacks were just way too good. Argentina just had nothing, did they?
No, it was pretty dominant, probably a much more controlled overall performance than what we saw in a couple of those Bledisloe tests where they were sort of long-range tries and attacking opportunities off turnovers, especially in that start of that second half where it seemed like Argentina were just on their own 5-metre line for about 25 minutes. It was pretty dominant.
For that defence.
Oh, yeah.
For defending, it was brave.
Yeah, they didn't go away, but not the most dynamic. How about you, Fisky? What were yours? We didn't get a chance to get your thoughts on the game ahead of time. What were your takeaways from it?
Yeah, thoroughly agree with all of you. I thought what stood out for me was not any individual player, but just the patience of the side. I think holding on the ball for more than 3 or 4 phases didn't seem to occur against the Wallabies, but they did that and did it really well. Like you said, there were extended periods of ball control and pressure, and they probably left 20 points on the field. So I thought it was a really dominant and disciplined performance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm glad you sort of touched on that, though. Maybe saying they left a few points on the field. We sort of said that when they were camped down in Argentina's 22 at the start of the second half, it did take them a while to get across the line. Sort of looking ahead to South Africa, is that maybe one area of concern, Paul? Maybe not capitalising on all the chances they're taking. We saw a similar thing against Australia.
Yeah, I guess when we get to the South Africans, I think the type 5 are going to have to step up again. And if they can get us at least parity, if not a wee bit of ascendancy in that area, then I think we're able to sort of capitalise on enough of those opportunities to be there or thereabouts at the end of the game. So I'm not overly worried about the Springboks. I think the foundation that the basis of the squad has laid is good enough. If they can continue that sort of form against the South Africans, I think it's enough for them to get the job done. So as long as the type 5, and to be fair, I think the type 5 is hasn't really been tested yet in any of the tests that they've played so far this season. They really have stepped up in all of them, and that in turn has allowed the rest of the team to do their thing. So yeah, as long as the type 5 can do their job, I don't hold too many fears against the South Africans.
No, that's probably fair enough, right? Like it's a good problem to have. Oh, we're creating all these chances. Can we make the most of them? And they've got 2 weeks now in camp. We've seen with the team they've named for this Argentina test, it's probably, to be fair, there's not a lot of first choice players, right? At least in the starting 15. So they've got 2 weeks to do a bit of fine tuning and get everything all in line for that test up in Townsville in 10 days' time. And was there anything else from you, Richard, on the performance on Saturday night concerns, or do you think it's all pretty?
Yeah, it was all pretty. Like when I looked at the scores, 39-0, and I looked at the stats I saw we'd only scored 5 tries. I was actually quite surprised. I sort of just felt like we probably had a bit more control of the game than 5 tries. But yeah, 39 points is plenty. We did absolutely dominate in the stats. I think we had about 2 times as more carries. I wrote down a few little stats there. Yeah, 31 defenders beaten to 11, 14 clean breaks to 2. So yeah, I mean it could have been. They definitely did probably leave some points on the field, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they can. Yeah, when they do come against South Africa, it's a bit more of a test. How they sort of adjust to that, and hopefully they can just keep up a similar dominance.
The big thing is they are creating those opportunities.
Yeah.
If they're not creating anything, then alarm bells should be ringing. So in that respect, as long as they continue to create opportunities when they do meet the South Africans, I think they've done enough in these tests to suggest that they'll be able to take advantage of those opportunities and put points on the board when they're down that end of the field. So yeah, it's looking quite bright at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of reminded me, for a bit of a cross-sport reference here, back in like the peak Barcelona days where they'd play some bottom 10 La Liga side and have 92% possession, and Iniesta's completed 142 passes in 85 minutes, sort of thing. Like it was, they could almost pick the number of points they wanted to score. But as someone whose best bet for the test was more tries scored in the second half than the first half, it certainly felt like they should have scored more than the 2 after half time. I can tell you that much.
You feel hard done by that.
Yeah, no, it was.
That's a bad beat, Matt. That's a bad beat, mate.
Yeah, between that and the over in the Newcastle Parramatta game that I managed to flick over and see my under just go down in flames with a penalty try in the last minute. It was pretty tough 20 seconds. But now Yeah, not the
Fisky's
worst
already
bad
covered that. Fisky's covered that in another podcast. I'll give you the tip right now.
Certainly not the toughest beat of the weekend, although I don't think I can really call it a bad beat. We were all, other than you, Richard, shout out Richard, very keen on South Africa minus 8.5 or 18.5 or 28.5 even. I think me and Paul would have taken pretty heavily before kickoff. I guess all that is to say is Quade, right, Paul?
What a difference a kicker makes when you score those penalty goals. Who would have thought? Put someone on the field who can kick goals, and you're probably going to be in the match for most of the way. He did a lot more in general play as well, but to keep the pressure on the South Africans, you got to keep the score ticking over, and that's exactly what they did. Quade, he got 7 penalties and a conversion, 23 points out of the 28 scored by the Australians, and he was involved in the try that was scored by the Australians as well. He thoroughly deserves to be an Australian citizen, and it's about bloody time too. He played really, really well. I don't think we should throw Lolasia on the scrap heap just yet. I think goal kicking is a lot like mathematics, not just angles and things like that. I think the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And so he just has to go away and keep practicing. Maybe get someone like an Andrew Mertens in there to help him with his technique. And then once he's got it nailed down, just keep hammering away at it, and goal kicking will come to him. And once he gets that confidence back, I'm sure he'll be back in and around the Australian team. So, but Quade Cooper, well done, huge game, and they got the penalty goal right on full time. Boom.
No, it was. I don't think you could have scripted if you'd done that in the movie. People would say, "Oh no, it's too obvious. Can't be doing that." But I think Beaver was certainly on the right path last week. He was shouting out Reece Hodge instead of Quade Cooper for the Lolasia replacement. But just seeing someone who wasn't afraid of the moment, and like Cooper, he was decisive when he had the ball in hand. He'd take it to the line. He wasn't afraid to throw maybe a cutout pass or take a chance like we saw in the lead up to the try they scored, where he got absolutely smoked by Ian Etzebeth, but stood in there and got the ball away to Samu Kuruvi, which led to him rinsing a couple of guys and then getting Callaway free on the outside.
He was almost Cody Walker-like in that general play, where he was taking the ball to the line and then sort of putting someone else in a better position than he was. And it was very, very good to see after being away from that level of football for quite a while. He just slid straight back in as if he had been there all this time. So
Sonny Bill.
Props to him.
Even you surely didn't see that level of performance coming, despite being on the plus 8.5, Richard.
No, I was either going to go one way or the other. You were sort of picturing on Sunday night before the game what the headlines would be the next morning, and it was always going to be about Quade Cooper and how he'd done, and I mean 7 from 7 with the boot. He looked composed. He just kind of looked like a bit more mature player than when we've seen him in the Wallabies jersey in the past. I was certainly happy. I was with South Africa 1-12 with my bonus bet though, so I was kind of a bit hard done by that last.
That was a bad beat.
It would have been a good night for me. It was
just $1 each way. I love you. I love it, Risky.
I won't talk about the angle, Taniela, too.
It's that 7-point buffer, and I thought it was going to be close, and South Africa will win a close game. But it'd be good on them and good on Australia. I mean, it's what they needed. They'd shown glimpses of what they could do against the All Blacks, but they just couldn't put sort of things together, and they were making some silly mistakes, and there's intercepts letting them down. But they were able just to stay in the game and score the points, and get away the win. So well done to them.
Certainly deserve massive credit for withstanding that sort of. It did seem like the box steamroller was about to come on later that second half, where they got sent down to 14 men, and then they scored the second rolling maul try in the second half. But how about you?
Was it 3 tries to 1 in the end?
Yeah, all 3 South African tries scored by hookers off the back of rolling mauls.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. How about you, Fisky? Were you impressed by the Wallabies, or was it more of South Africa not being up to scratch? Did you think?
You guys make me sick. absolutely sick. Quade Cooper's an average footballer.
We've got our social clip for the podcast this week sorted. That's good to know.
He's not Cody Walker. He's not Sonny Bill. He's an average footballer, and he's and the Wallabies are an average side. I just thought South Africa, their precision was missing, not just goal kicking, but kicking general play. Thought the halfback was just off his game there with a couple of those box kicks. They're predictable, but generally they're very effective, and I don't think you'll see a similar performance this week. Wallabies kind of weren't any worse than expected, but I don't think they're any better. I think they just play what's in front of them, and good on them. But it'll be a different challenge from this week.
No, that's true. I think the Springboks right there are sort of like one of the. They're almost. It's a weird comparison to make given the style of rugby they play, but they're a bit like a sports car where everything's firing and on. Everything's completely finely tuned and firing on all cylinders, and everything just goes perfectly. The box kicks are at the perfect length. They're millimeter perfect. You got the kick chase going, but if it's not quite right and the kicks aren't going to place, and the back three does have time to recover it and counter attack, it can all sort of fall apart pretty quickly. And there were certainly moments on Saturday night where the system wasn't there. And I think another probably area of concern for the Springboks, we sort of think back to that World Cup, the strength was undoubtedly the tight five, right? They were bringing on the second lot of blocks and front rowers at the 60-minute mark and just rolling over guys. But with no Peter Steph Totoy, he's gone for the year. That's meant Mostert has to go to 6. And then now as well, you got Ludiaga picked up a pretty nasty looking concussion late on Saturday night. So they don't even have, it's really front rowers and loose forwards on the bench for this week, which we'll get to shortly. But that's sort of the other strength of the team being taken away.
That'll suit them down to a T.
Well, just having no locks on the bench.
Correct.
Let's not forget that Springboks traditionally pretty much the one part of the world they don't travel well to is Australia. I think they've won 3 times in the past 20 years, and it's no different. They just seem to they lift in New Zealand, they lift in Europe. They're obviously very hard to beat at home, but Australia just doesn't work for them. And it was exactly as they've played in the past. A good side just off their game. It's a tricky one.
And we did actually, to be fair to the South Africans, had a few comments on the YouTube channel, guys saying they thought we were getting a bit overconfident and that the Springboks were in for a tougher test than maybe me and Paul certainly predicted. So interested to hear how what the reaction was in the Republic to that. Are you guys feeling any better about your chances, expecting a big bounce back, or is this sort of alarm bells ringing with the All Blacks looming in a week or so? So I tend to think we'll see the same old Springboks back sooner rather than later, especially Dwayne Vermeulen was one name for me. He wasn't quite back to his best, like obviously coming back from that long injury layoff, but there were the moments there he had a couple of steals and a couple of carries where once he can go back to getting 80 minutes out of that guy, so talk about a game changer.
Were there any video replays on Twitter highlighting foul play by the Australians last? I didn't see any. I just wondered if there was any going around.
Yeah, I don't know if Jaco Johan saw what angle Tane Alatupo was pushing it in that final scrum or not, but I was certainly surprised to see that not pop up on Twitter at any stage. Yeah, but I might as well dive straight ahead into the rematch, though, because that's the game that's first up on Saturday evening, I think 7 o'clock from Suncorp Stadium. The Boks and Wallabies going at it again. Both teams are, fairly similar lineups to what we saw on Sunday evening, just 2 changes in the tight 5, South Africa with Trevor Unakane and Marvin Ori coming in for Ludiaga, as I mentioned, injured. Obviously, still no Cheslin Colby in the back 3 for South Africa, which, in terms of losses, they don't get much bigger than that at the moment. So
they've just been cautious with him, aren't they? I mean, at a push, he probably could have played this weekend, but they're just being cautious with his recovery and probably going to save him for the All Blacks so he can run rings around us.
Yeah, I can see it already now. Yeah, maybe I'll see if I can get an advanced price on first try scorer for that game. But I don't know how. I can't say. I saw a lot of Mekazole and Pimpy as well. Was someone who I'd backed to score a try at plus money and was feeling very good about that. And I can't remember him touching the ball at all on Sunday night. So it'll be interesting to see if they do get those guys involved more. A little quick shout out to, I think it was Tim Horan on the commentary though, who I'm pretty sure had never seen a Springboks test until Sunday night. He was just absolutely flabbergasted that Andre Pollard kept kicking the ball away. So I just don't know what he's doing.
Where's he been?
Yeah, did you see any of the Lions series, Tim? That's literally all they've done for the last 5 years. But,
5?
Yeah, but I don't know if we'll get to betting in a second. Paul, you were very keen on South Africa last week. Who do you think needs to step up for them, or we need a better performance from if they are to turn the tide on Australia this week?
I guess when you have a very, very simple game plan, like the South Africans do, then you have to play that at a very high level every time for that to be successful. Otherwise, it can be broken down by the opposition. So I guess, first of all, set piece, I mean, the scrum at times just looked diabolical, the South African scrum. So certainly an improvement there. And I think with the changes, who the loose head prop coming in, I really do like the look of him. He's a big boy, gets around the field as well. I think that drum will be a lot more solid with him in there. I just think, I'd like to see them change their game plan. I don't see it happening. It's very much based around the scrum and the 9 and the 10, and then you other guys just tackle as much of the opposition as you can. So I do expect them to be a lot more accurate in their execution, and if that happens, I think the Australians could be in for a wee bit of trouble.
How about you, Richard? Taking the plus again this week?
Yeah, I think so. I just, when you're onto a good thing, you don't let it go. So, yeah, I'll hold on to the plus, but I'm expecting that, the South Africans they'll be fired up and they'll be wanting to sort of make amends for that one. We saw how well they sort of bounced back from that loss in the first match of the Lions series. So we'll see. I sort of coming back to sort of like players, you were saying players who probably need to step up. I thought Pollard was probably below his best, so I probably expect a better performance from him, kicking game and general play and off the tee, as sort of Fisky mentioned. And I had sort of Vermeulen circled as well. He's sort of obviously getting back, coming back, but he was probably not his dominant best and maybe got sort of outplayed by some of those Australian back rowers. So those are and then Khaleesi probably let himself down a little bit with that yellow card.
Lucky to stay on the field, I thought. Another referee that looked pretty ugly. It could have been a red.
Looking at that again, and I was sort of like, I think if Banks hadn't put his arm out, because he sort of fell. He probably was lucky that Banks sort of fell like he did, but I wouldn't have been surprised at all to see him to get rid for that one. But so it was sort of it'll be. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good match, and I'm hoping for another tight encounter.
Likewise, you obviously weren't too impressed with a few South African performances last week, Matt. Who do you think needs to put their mark on the game if the Springboks are going to bounce back here?
Yeah, we've talked about the game plan, and I can't believe the Aussie commentators didn't see it coming. But de Klerk and Pollard, it all revolves around them. Sure, their forwards have to be, really precise in the way they attack the set pieces and use that strength they're known for. But it comes out of the halves. It's that kicking game on the field and then kicking off the tee. And I expect them to both be better. Let's not forget, whether it's Khaleesi or whether it's Vermeulen, they did travel over here, and they probably only had a week and a half with isolation, all that sort of rubbish to deal with. So I expected them to be a bit flat, and we probably saw that with the Pumas as well. So I think second up after a run, they'll all be a little bit sharper. But just the way the game is. It's all about field position, and it's all about converting chances. It's boring. It's boring as all hell, really. But so they've got to be a bit sharper around that. I expect their defence to be. Look, they only let him one try. Historically, over the last 3 years, they're averaging only letting in a try or less per game. They're a phenomenal defensive record. So either side of the World Cup win. So I expect them to dominate defensively. I just want to see them a little bit more intelligent how they move around the park and keep the Wallabies in their own half.
One man I think they'll be expecting a bit more from, maybe especially defensively, Damien Diolende. I've already touched on Samu Karevi, who, well, you've seen the difference he's made for the Wallabies, having him back at second five the last couple of weeks. But he was really that release valve when the Wallabies were under pressure. They could give it to him. Knew he'd certainly beat the first man, and he could hold the ball up and get them a bit of time and space to get the clearing kick. So Diolende, he's a big man himself and can be that sort of intimidating physical presence in the back line.
I thought that you're right. The defence in general wasn't moving up quickly at all. The All Blacks were putting way more pressure on the Wallabies in the 3 matches before this, and Aussies couldn't handle that. But Springboks are just given a little bit more time. They were a little bit scattered, and it was uncharacteristic. So I do expect that to change.
Yeah, it wasn't that smothering, just in your face, no time to think.
Yeah,
defense we've come to see from them, as we certainly saw in the last 2 tests of the Lions series, but they did get better, certainly from the first to the second test in that series. And with all the quarantine and travel considerations, be no surprise to see the same thing here, I don't think. Any last points you guys want to touch on? Maybe on the Wallabies side, do you think we'll see a pretty similar game plan from Dave Rennie and co after it worked so well for them, Paul?
Yes, I think so. They almost did a sort of a South Africa on the South Africans. Almost, they actually gave the ball a wee bit more air, to be fair, but they got down into position. They put the pressure on. They created opportunities, and they turned those opportunities into points. And that's what you usually see a South African team do. They get down your end of the field. They put the pressure on. They create opportunities, and they turn them into points. Well, that's what the Australians did. I'm going to say that if Lolasia was there, they probably don't turn that pressure into points. So I don't see any reason why Rennie would be changing too much in terms of game plan this week. We'll just try and refine a few things, hopefully create a few more chances with ball in hand. But a lot of that will have to do with the sort of pressure that the South African defense puts on that Australian offensive line. So, getting back to your question, no, I don't think they'll change too much. I think we'll see pretty much the same sort of game plan for the Australians. I think we'll probably see Serevi get involved a wee bit more than he did last time out. And I think we'll see Quade kicking goals again.
Yeah. If I'm Dave Rennie, the entire training every day this week is spent learning out how to stop rolling balls, because boy, they did not look like they knew how to do that a couple of times when I think they could have got all the way to Brisbane, the Springboks, if they wanted to, with 2 of those ones at the end there. So yeah, that'd be the area of expertise, because it's not going to stop coming at them from the line out close, and I can tell you that much.
I dare say the best improved team in terms of discipline will go a long way towards victory on Saturday night. I think both teams had 2 players sent to the bin last week. You've got to keep everyone on the field. Only the All Blacks can drop down to 14 men for 20 minutes and still win in a canter. Other teams can't do that. So you've got to keep all 15 on. I guess if you're attempting an intercept, you better bloody well get it, because
don't get me started on this rule.
Just about any other outcome, you're going to the bin.
Yeah, that should not have been a yellow card. But yeah. Any other pointers you might have for the Wallabies, Richard? Do you think you'd like to see them do a little bit more of this week?
Yeah, probably, as you say, just working on and training how to defend those rolling mauls that really hurt them, and that probably nearly cost them, very close to costing the game. They were, what was it, 3 in the 2 in the final sort of 20 minutes or something like that. They let in, and yeah, they just looked a little bit clueless there. So I'm sure that would have been noted. I mean, they've got the win. They kept it tight. They want to have another physical encounter. So I'd say they'd just be practicing pretty similar things this week.
Yeah, sure. All right. I think we should move on, because I've just remembered we also have the full round of Bunnings NPC to get to before the end of the
is that
podcast.
back, is it?
So, You know it is. But first, might as well touch on the other game featuring the All Blacks on Saturday night in Brisbane. Just seen the team come across the wire about an hour ago. Mass changes. Just the 4 guys retaining their spot in the starting 15 from last week. What was it that jumped out to you when you saw that team, Paul?
I'm happy to see so many players getting an opportunity. I'm guessing that they're looking to put probably their best 15 on the field against the South Africans. So this was probably the last chance for a number of these players to get a starting role in the next 3 tests. So very happy to see. I'm glad that Satutu's got the number 8 jersey on. Very keen to see how he goes on Saturday night. I think the locks certainly deserved a rest anyway. So to see Tuipulotu and Va'ai there locking the scrum, I think makes sense big time. He's obviously trying a few things in the back line as well. Mackenzie goes back into the 10 jersey. I think I've been pretty clear. I prefer Ioane on the wing as opposed to...
Well, they don't have any other midfielders, right? Like, good to see Brandon Eno on the bench, but getting pretty short on options there.
Was there a Manawatu player used to play? Oh, no, never mind. Hold on.
Speaking of Manawatu players, no.
Oh. Have they got a game this weekend? No.
No. Next weekend, Northland, 205. Yeah. Sorry.
But happy to see Quentin Tupai get another go in the midfield. Outside of that, I just thought it still looks like a very, very good All Blacks team. And I'm fairly sure we'll see the top 15 start next weekend.
You don't want to touch on the 2 members of the starting 15 you didn't talk about there before I move on? Fisky, you seem pretty confident we'll see a bounce back from the Springboks this week. Are you expecting Argentina to also be much improved from the showing we saw last week?
Yeah, I thought they scrambled in defence like they're known to do, but their attack was really lacking, and I want a bit more from Sanchez. And we haven't seen the side yet, but I'm assuming he'll be at 10. I don't know if they got it in them. They just seem off the pace, and they weren't really challenging the Springboks in South Africa either. They compete, but they're just not creating points, and they don't even look like scoring points. So I don't know how they change that in a week. In saying that, the travel and whatnot's been tough for them. So I do expect them to be a little bit better. I think they might cover actually, because of the nature of the All Black side. Just moving all around. Mackenzie at 10 I think it's more of a touch footy side, a side that might want to carry on from the 81st minute after last week and just think it's going to be like that, but it won't be. I think the All Blacks were patient and built themselves into that game so they could run it from everywhere late in the match. I don't think it'll do the All Blacks well to start like that with that mentality this week. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a trap game for the All Blacks. I think they may not be as structured and disciplined throughout like they were last week. So that might play into the Pumas' hands, but gee whiz, they've got to do something about their attack.
Yeah, that's 3 Rugby Championship tests now, and they've scored 1 try, which was in the 85th minute of the second test against South Africa. So they're not certainly troubling the scorers too much. Rissy, plus again this week?
Well, I wasn't gonna. I said the team, and I'm sort of like, maybe, but there's plenty of guys who'll be excited about having a run or getting a start and all that. And I think, they just didn't show anything on attack. I was just expecting a bit more from them last week. So I don't know. The team kind of, it was probably always going to happen. I expected the All Blacks to sort of give some of these guys a go, just in case there is injuries later on. Make sure people have game time. They've obviously proven that they shouldn't really have too much to worry about with Argentina. So I'll probably be. I think the All Blacks will be far too good again.
Yeah, I just think Argentina, they're probably not going to score more than 1 try, right? And even if it does take the All Blacks a while to get going, it's going to be good weather up in Brizzy, flat track like Suncorp. You can run the points up there. So Although the All Blacks don't have a good record at Suncorp in general. Most of those tests obviously against the Wallabies instead of Argentina, but something to keep in mind. But yeah, you have to expect
you can be sure that that Argentinian defensive line is going to be right up on the advantage. They're going to be right there, possibly half a step in front. So I do expect them to really get back to their sort of spoiling sort of ways on defense, slowing the ball down big time, just trying to frustrate the All Blacks. And I'm not sure that'll work anyway. Maybe for the first 20 minutes, but I can see the All Blacks just rolling on from there.
No, for sure. Anything else we want to touch on this test? It's obviously, the most compelling betting matchup, but I think it's really just going to be seeing which All Blacks put in big performances on Saturday night. Although to me, the amount of changes does suggest that Fozzie and co have a pretty good idea about what their starting 15 is going to be in Townsville, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so.
Should we talk about some Bunnings NPC then? I can see Paul's absolutely champing at the bit to get going with this.
Not a green and white jersey in sight this weekend.
We'll wait for next weekend, though. Your boys are in action, though, Paul, heading up to Mackie. Yeah. How are you feeling? 5.5 point favourites on the road.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm tempted to take Taranaki, actually, with the points. I know just before COVID interrupted the season, Wellington were up in Hamilton, and I think they're up 20-odd points at one stage. Ruben Love got injured, and then the whole game fell to pieces. I thought they lost a lot of direction when he went off the field. I see he's back playing this weekend, but in the 15 jersey, I'd really prefer to see him in the 10.
Yeah, I think especially at that level, just who's given the 10 jersey? I haven't actually seen the team.
Morgan, I think it is.
Okay, interesting. Tough place to go for your first start in a Lions jersey as well, like against a pretty good forward pack.
Very much so, yeah. And it's just why I'm really leaning towards the black and amber. I don't think we're giving them enough sort of credit here for the performances they've put on already this season. They beat a very good Hawke's Bay team in week 1. And they've got a very, very good side. They got more than a solid look to them, to be fair to Taranaki. They've got a bit of flair about them as well. So, yeah, if I'm going to have a bet on this game, I'm happy to take the points with Taranaki at this stage.
I'm with you, Paul. I'm with you all the way, mate.
What I know you're fired up to see some NPC action this weekend, Fisky. What game have you got circled as the main event of the round?
Oh, I love my NPC, and look, I think Paul's right. I think Taranaki getting about 5 start at home is a great bet against that Wellington side. But I'm really keen to see Canterbury tomorrow night up in Hamilton. I think they'll make a really good account of themselves up there. It's a pretty strong squad. Cam Bailey, wanted to call out to Cam on the wing. He's been doing some great stuff in the wider squad and starting on the wing. I expect him to get over for a meat pie. Naholo's back on the other wing. I think they'll score some points, and I think they're really good bettors outsiders tomorrow night in Hamilton, Canterbury. I think it's a great bet.
Go Cam Bailey.
Despite I'm actually pretty keen on Waikato here. I think we're still getting, he was still trading on the Canterbury team of 5 or 6 years ago that won all those competitions in a row. You look at their 6 and 7 in their last 13 games now, and like the team list as a whole, it's certainly not. They used to have those sort of second and third tier All Blacks just filling out particularly the forward pack. Now, it's not certainly anywhere near as strong as that. Waikato have been really impressive so far, top of the table. So they had to go down 26 points to Wellington to overturn the 26-point deficit, but they still did that, and that was. I'm just not sure that Canterbury really have. I don't know what it is. But maybe they've had so much change in their coaching staff as well. They seem to have lost the structure that made them so great. So it's a bit of an upgrade this week. They've got Harmon and Princep in the back row, and like I said, Naholo's back on the wing. I think it's an upgrade from the sides they've put out in the paddock this year. I expect them to be a lot better at the breakdown. I can certainly see that. I just do think, the halves combination some question marks over Fergus Burke. I don't know why they let Brett Cameron go and kept him, but it's a story for a different day. Richard, what have you got? Certainly not. All Black House come blue and green and white. What are you looking forward to this weekend, and what's the main event for you?
Oh, it's got to be the Battle of the Bay, doesn't it?
Yep, sure does.
Sunday afternoon, Renfrew Shield, bit of afternoon footy. I can't wait for that match. I think it'll be good. I think Bay have plenty got a very good chance.
Ooh, yeah.
It's been a fair few years since they've had it, but they've got they've had some success against Hawke's Bay. They've won, I think it's about 5 of the last 6 or 6 of the last 8 or something like that. So they've kind of dominated that meeting recently, and they've had an all right start to the season. Hawke's Bay have sort of also they've sort of just been here and there. They sort of had a game against Otago, which was pretty tight for most of the game, and then they sort of ran away. They got some late tries at the end, but yeah, I think coming off neither team's had the most ideal prep for this game, but it might work in Bay of Plenty's favour. They've got nothing to lose. Hopefully they can throw it around, and they've been playing some exciting footy, so I'm looking forward to that match, and I will not be surprised to see a little upset there and see the Shield change hands.
Beware the mighty magpie.
Yeah.
Are you actually from the Hawke's Bay and you just haven't told us all along, Paul?
I'm not from the Hawke's Bay, but I've seen. I believe they've looked at this season and they've targeted certain games, and they are not going to lose at home this season. They started off slowly against Taranaki away, and then they turned it on when they needed to. And I do not see them dropping a game at Fortress McLean. I know they lost last year to Bay of Plenty away again. Not this. This is different. That all their focus will be on this week. Back against them when they're away from home, but when they're at home, get on, please. This Hawke's Bay team will still be holding the Shield at the end of the season.
Oh, you heard it first.
Yeah. Well, which side of the Bay are you coming down on this week, Fisky?
Oh, with Paul again here. Yeah, they're just unstoppable last year at home, and Ash Dixon's last year there. They're not going to let this slip. I think they'll win.
I'm probably leaning more towards Richard's side of things. I think we're still forgetting how big a loss for Lau Whakatava is to that team. He was their superstar. The forward pack was obviously super impressive, but he gave them that X factor. Been super impressed with Bay of Plenty. Obviously, Clayton McMillan not there this season, but a lot of the structures and everything that he put in place there has seen them go a long way. Obviously, they did well last year to get promoted. So I'm pretty keen on Bay of Plenty. I certainly think they'll be able to at least meet Hawke's Bay in the forwards, and then you look at that back line, the halves combination. You got O'Terry Blake at 10, who's one of the classier pivots going around, and Martin Cup could just be enough. I don't think Hawke's Bay have the points in them they had last season. So yeah, I'm not.
Beware the magpie.
Yeah, there we go. I was listening to an interview on SENZ, and I think they were talking to the Hawke's Bay assistant coach, who I think is shifting to the Western Force next season. And I was very impressed with the way that they got sort of went through COVID lockdown. And I think you'll find that is a very, very tight unit that they've got there in Hawke's Bay at the moment. And I think when they are playing at McLean Park, the turbo boosters go on. So
did you say turbos?
If this was on a neutral ground, sure, I'd give Bob a fair go. But in Hawke's Bay, I just think, as Fisky said, they're not going to let Ash Dixon down in his final season in the black and white. So I just cannot see Hawke's Bay losing at home this season. The Shield will not be moving this season.
You heard it here first.
Love it. Love it.
All right.
Gonna put a kebab on it, Paul.
Yeah, let's do that, Rishi.
I've got a few in my pocket. Colours me. Yeah.
This season or this weekend?
This weekend.
Okay, we'll put a kebab on it.
Yeah.
Yep. First official kebab bet of the season for the Picking Guy, I think. So let's see that going around. Yeah, you'll probably get that off Paul sometime in 2024 if they do get up. So look forward to that, Richard. The one game we haven't touched on, probably not quite as compelling as the Battle of the Bay, but Tasman, huge favourites as they head up to Northland. 29.5 is the line currently. Northland obviously have been not super impressive the first 2 weeks, got steamrolled by Taranaki last time out, and they were equally as far off the pace in week 1 when Wellington put 50 on them at the Cake Tin. Another half century on the cards here, Paul?
It's certainly on the cards. They step up their performance when they're at home, the Taniwha, but they just don't have the cattle this season, unfortunately. And even though Tasman are without their All Blacks, the structures there they're very Canterbury-like, and they've got a fair sort of smattering of Crusaders through that team as well. I don't think it's going to be pretty for Northland, unfortunately.
Yeah, no Finlay Christie, but we've got Mitch Hunt, Lester Fainganuku, Tom Marshall, Mark Talaire in the back line. Those are all really good Super Rugby players. Quinton Strange and Pari Parkinson in the second row. It's 48 and 54. Northland have conceded the first 2 weeks, even off the lockdown. I just think Tasman will blow that out in the second half, right? Either of the other two of you expecting more of a fight from the Taniwha?
Oh, I'm giving them a little bit of hope. Obviously, they're probably not going to win the game, but 30 points is a lot of points. And there, I was watching that Taranaki game, and they were, at halftime, I think it was 10-7, or they were within, not won a few points, and they unfortunately had a red card at the start of the second half, and it all just went downhill from there. But they played all right. And then that first week, that Wellington were sort of on another level, really. They were just throwing the ball around, and the bounce was just going their way to Wellington. So, yeah, I mean, I think it might not be too ugly for the Taniwha, but yeah, I think not going to get the win as such, are they?
I'll be on the plus too. I'm not declaring them, but I think the break wouldn't have been great for Tasman. They were in pretty good form. Might be a bit scratchy. They'll have one eye on next week, so I think they'll be happy to get away with a 20-point win or a 25-point win. I just think when you get up near 30 for a home side who are capable, I want to be on the plus there every day.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, big game coming up next Friday as well. Top of the table clash potentially, Tasman versus Waikato. So maybe they will have an eye on that. And obviously Northland are in a big clash next week as they head to the Boneyard to take on Manawatu. But we'll no doubt.
Now, is there any truth to the rumour Aaron Smith will be playing Paddy?
Well, I think when there's an article on allblacks.com with direct quotes from the great man, it's much more than a rumour. So yeah, very excited to see Smithy back out in the green and white stripes again. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend that game, but yeah, it's just great for provincial rugby.
Look at you, mate. You're glowing. You're glowing.
Yeah. No, it's very, very exciting times, of course. Shame we can't be over there to take on the Box, but certainly I think we can all agree this is the next best thing. So, but
I'm not sure we're all agreeing on that. No.
Don't think anyone asked you, Paul.
You could argue that they've probably got the best halves now in the NPC. Aaron Smith and Brett Cameron.
It's an all black halves combination.
It's a good partnership, and they showed they've got a bit of go about them this year. So I expect him to have a really good season with them this year.
Yeah, no, I'm also hopefully can get a few wins because it has been a tough couple of years in the Manawatu, obviously. So if they can ride Aaron Smith's coattails to a bit more success, that would be very exciting. But we will no doubt touch on that game much more in 7 days' time. Before then, though, got a bit of betting to do. So get to the best bet segment for the week. We're in the NPC, so we'll just keep rolling along here. Paul, I think I know where you're going here. What's your best bet for the week?
Hawke's Bay, $1.80. Oh, that is money for jam. $1.83 head to head.
Yep. No one's shocked to see that. Richard, best bet in the NPC?
One of us will be right, so I'll go with Bad Plenty head to head. $1.98, I think.
Oh, good.
$1.90.
How about you, Fisky?
I've got a lot of leans this week. Like I like Canterbury. I like Hawke's Bay. I like that Northland plus. But my best bet of the week, I'm going to stick with Taranaki with the start. And at Inglewood, I think they'll beat Wellington off the stick. So the 4 or 5.5 start is just there's a little bit of protection.
Yeah, no, I'm very keen on Taranaki too. I had the -5.5 labelled as my best. Just get in that extra, unconverted try, +5.5. Sorry, yeah. Getting that insurance, and then just looking at this Wellington team as well. It's certainly not the strongest Lions side to put out the season. Peter and Jensen on the bench. I don't know what is going on there.
What is going on? There needs to be a 30 ESPN documentary around this. Someone needs to get to the bottom of this.
His new nickname, Splinters. Been on the bench that much.
There's Noah Safamoa, who they did have against Waikato last game. Richard Judd and Aidan Morgan in the halves is not the strongest side.
Byron Thompson's not the worst.
Yeah, he's not Safamoa though, is he?
No, he's not.
Yeah. All right. How about a bit of value? I'll let you go again, Paul.
Taranaki head-to-head 245.
Very nice. Richard, bit of value?
I'm going with an alternative point start in the Northland Tasman game, actually. In Northland, plus 19.5, $3.
Nice one. Well, I mean, I can't say I share your sentiment, but nice value if nothing else. How about you, Fisky? What's your value?
When the bookies get up to pricing it, I want to be on Cam Barley to score a try. We don't have that up yet. I'm declaring the young fella, but I'll take Canterbury as outsiders, just over the $2 mark. It's not massive value or a massive price, but I like Canterbury to win that one at odds against.
I'm going the other way as Richard, just taking Tasman. I think they could, if things do go their way, they could certainly run up a bit of a score. So I'll take -41.5 at $3. Northland haven't held anyone below 48 this season, so if they do get going, yeah, maybe one. We've left ourselves a nice middle there to both lose, though. But,
yeah,
we know where it's landing, don't we?
Hey, I'll just take the minus whatsoever. What about Paul? Do you want to tell the punters about NPC bonus back?
Yeah, and I'll also tell them about my roughie for the NPC.
All right.
I'm very keen on Hawke's Bay 13 and over at $4.
Oh.
And the fact that we've got a bonus back promotion on all 4 NPC games this weekend just makes that even more worthy of a bet. So just place a pre-match winning team and margin bet on any of the 4 NPC matches this weekend. And if your team wins, but you select the incorrect margin, we'll refund your bet up to $50 as a bonus bet. So I'm really keen on Hawke's Bay 13 and over. But if by some chance the Bay were only to win by 1 to 12.
The other Bay at the moment, they won this matchup last time.
If by chance the Magpies win by 1 to 12, then I'd be due a bonus bet back for my 13 and over bet. So my roughie is Hawke's Bay 13 and over at $4. We've got a bonus bet promotion on all 4 NPC games this weekend. Just head to the tab.co.nz website. Check out all the T's and C's for that. But I don't think we'll need them in this game.
Love it. I love it, Paul.
Well, have you got lined up for your bonus back bet if you had to pick one, Fisky?
Oh, mate, the man with the hot hand, Mawadi, I'd follow him in. One sneaky one I'd toy with as well. I might have a little bit on Tasman 1 to 12, knowing that I'm going to get my money back if they probably do flog them. But if they salute, you're getting a pretty good price. That's the strategy I'd go with.
Like, I like your process. I'm not so sure about the results there, but I certainly can't fault the process. You also taking the Mako 1 to 12, Rissy?
No. I actually was eyeing up sort of Canterbury earlier today, actually, and so hearing Fisky talk about it, and hearing this young fellow on the wing getting the starts got me excited. So Canterbury 1 to 12, $3.60. Sort of sticking with the homeland, but we'll see. They kind of they have dominated sort of Waikato in the past. Obviously, Patrick did allude to the fact they're missing a few names, but yeah, 1 to 12, $3.60. They do seem to run away with it. I think, which is the possibility they'll get that bonus back as well. So,
well, I'm taking the other side. I'm going Waikato 1 to 12. I think they win at home. I know it's not the party line for the podcast this week, but yeah, I've got my cowbell out, so that'll be me. Last of all, I think I know who you're backing to score a try this week if you had to pick one, Fisky.
Yeah, Mr. Bailey, Cam Bailey, Canterbury Junior, and proud as punch to be starting with his Canterbury side tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, great to see him getting around. Hopefully he does get across the line. Paul, which hooker are you going to have your money on?
I haven't seen the Hawke's Bay team, but if Ash Dixon starts, he's going to score a try. And if he doesn't start, we'll probably score a try anyway, coming off the bench. But whoever is in the number 2 jersey for Hawke's Bay, get on.
Yeah, fair enough. Rissy, try scorer?
Oh, yeah, Sean Waitanui he's playing in the centres, I think. But he's scored a try in each game this year so far and played some good footy. So,
yeah, I'll be backing Leicester Fainganuku to score 1 try, to score 2 tries, to score 3 tries. I'll back him to score 4 if they'll give me a price. I think he's obviously in that, real gun Super Rugby player level, and those players quite often tear up the NPC. So I think he could have a huge day up in Northland on Saturday afternoon. All right, just over the Rugby Championship, we'll go through this quick fire because I've held you boys on long enough. What's your best bet for the All Blacks game, Paul?
They're a wee bit short of $1.03, so
not for you. They're not. You can obviously. We don't have all the markets up currently, but we know what if you don't have a price, but like a market, you can tip it out, and I'll add the prices in post production.
Yeah, look, I'll take Argentina plus 25.5. Okay. Yeah, there've quite a few changes in the All Blacks team. A week under the Argentinians' belt. I expect them to try and spoil their way through this game. So Argentina plus 25.5.
Not bad. Richard?
I'm jumping ship this week. All Blacks minus 25.5. I can't see the Argentina scoring too many points, and there's enough flair in that All Blacks side to suggest they should be able to put a few points on them, I reckon. So I like that. Just plus 25.5. Minus 25.5, sorry. Oh, All Blacks plus 25.5. That price would be nice.
Yeah. Paul will probably shout that out for his value bet next week. Matt, what's your best bet?
Yeah, I love this one. It's you get a bigger start from last week. The All Black side's vastly inferior to the one that went out last week. It's a game that really, if they had a choice not to play it, they wouldn't, because they've got that eye on the South African match in Townsville. And it's going to be pretty humid conditions there at Lang Park. So I expect this plus to cover, and I think it'll cover pretty comfortably. So Argentina plus for mine.
All right. I am cheating and taking a market that's not up at the moment, but I do it every week, so I'm just backing most tries scored in the second half. We sort of touched on this has been an All Blacks team that might try and give the ball some air straight away, and I can see Argentina trying to drag the game down into the mud, but I think sooner rather than later there's enough talent and skill, and they've got a few big guns on the bench like Bowden Barrett to come on, so hopefully the All Blacks will manage to score more than 2 tries after half-time for me this week. I'll go to you first here, Fisky, for the Australia-South Africa game. What do you like in that one?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it before. I think South Africa struggle in Australia, but South Africa don't let in many points either, or many tries. Australia's not much of a difference when they're worst game and their best, so we kind of know what they'll expect. So I kind of think this is a rather predictable match. I think South Africa will win a tight one. I don't think it'll be an amazing game. So I'm going to go a margin here. And you can go the 1-12 and get about 260, but I'm going to get a little bit cheekier and take a 1-5 margin Springboks at $6.
All right, yeah. Obviously, Cap would have come very close to cashing last week. Paul, what's your best bet for this game?
I am going to take that $2.63 on the South Africans to win 1-12.
Yeah, nice one. Richard, best bet here?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the plus 7.5. Came through last week. Yeah, I was thinking. I don't know if we still do those try bets, but I thought it's not up at the moment. But that would be a good option as well, because I can see it being close either way. It's sort of Fisky alluded to.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to take the 1-12 too. I'm too scared to bet against the Springboks after last week. Obviously, I just think they're in for a bounce back. The machine's going to get that little bit more switched on this week, and yeah, I don't think Australia have got a whole lot more to. Yeah, surely they're not giving away 7 kickable penalties again this week. So yeah, I'll be on the 1 to 12, and that's obviously covered by the Rugby Championship bonus back, which is the same terms and conditions as the NPC bonus bet. We have a winning team margin bet, get the right team but the wrong margin, and we'll give you your money back as a bonus bet up to $50. So mine and Paul's South Africa 1 to 12 would be insured there should they run away with it, which I don't think is out of the question. But yeah, how about a bit of value, Paul? You are the man we go to for value on this podcast. What do you got?
In either game or just any?
Either.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with. I think the Australians will come out a week quicker than they did. In fact, they came out fairly quick last weekend anyway. I'm going to go Australia to lead at halftime, South Africans to win.
I also have that written down for my value bet, $6, which I think is a very, very good value. Yeah, it's not quite the strongest bench South Africa can pick out, but they do have that habit of rolling over teams late on, so I can certainly see that happening. Richard, have you got a value bet for us?
Got a bit leery this week. I'm just going to go with a draw at $21.
What?
Which game?
For the for the Wallabies.
These teams do have a bit of a history of drawing as well, I think.
There's been some,
yeah.
and Australia had 2 last year, and yeah, I think it was about 3 or 4 games ago between they did have a draw, and every other game's been quite tight with Australia. So
they drew twice in a row in 2017, actually. So
and you can just see a sort of back and forth, a few penalties here, a few penalties there. So at $21, could do worse.
Fisky, what's your value?
You could do worse, and I'll do my best to do that. I'm going to play with our promo this week, and in a similar vein to that Tasman one, I'm going to go New Zealand 1 to 12. It's going to be around $4.75 or $5. In the knowledge that probably get my money back. If I don't, happy days.
If either one of those two cash, you're well up, and probably got a bonus bet as well. So
that's right. Bring it on. $50 too.
Try scorer. Last little category here before we let you guys go. Who's done down, Richard? Either game, just need one, I think.
I'm going to go with Bongi Mbonami. I think he says his name. For obvious reasons.
Very obvious. Paul, is he on the same page as you?
Not quite. I'm going to take an All Black to score a try, if that's okay.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. I think Damien McKenzie in the 10 jersey will dot down close to the post. So McKenzie to score a try.
All right. What are we defining as close to the posts? Just
right next door to them.
Okay, good to know. How about you, Fisky? Who's your best bet to score a try?
I'm so confident about Bongi, the South African number 2 scoring. I'm going to put in a multi with Will Jordan. I think they're both absolute morals to score tries. And
don't forget Bailey.
He's
paying $3.10. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so Will Jordan will get over the line. The South Africa hooker will get over the line. Take the double.
In there for laughs.
I'm not taking Bongi, but that's just because I'm going to take his replacement. We don't have odds up just yet, but we'll shortly for the South African backup. I'll go Malcolm Marks, who scored 2 tries on the.
Malcolm's starting. Sorry, I will flip that.
He's not starting.
Oh no,
Malcolm's on the bench.
Bongi.
But we'll have odds up for the replacement shortly enough. So I'll be diving straight into Malcolm once we do, because I think both that could be a nice little 7-game multi as well. Both hookers to score a try. The old Paul Mighty special. So get stuck in, punters. But I've certainly taken up enough of your gentlemen's time. Thank you for joining us. It's been a great chat, breaking down all the Rugby Championship and NPC. Really looking forward to this weekend of footy, and we'll be back this time next week to break down, and got a couple of really big games next week to preview. Obviously, the game up in Townsville and another one close to my heart. So very excited to do all of that, and we'll talk to you all again, punters. Have a good week and enjoy the footy.